Archbishop, Monday will be such a historic event on a scale possibly that we've never seen before. How do you feel about your central role in that day?
I feel very privileged to be there. Not pleased to be there, because we would all prefer that this had not happened, but we're all going to miss and grieve for the Queen. But it's a huge privilege to be able to take part in this, focused on the family first, because this is a family saying goodbye at a funeral to someone they loved.
Do you get a sense of national mourning? I know you've been down to see the crowds queuing at outside Westminster Hall, for example. You know, is there a shared experience we're having here?
Oh, yes. Yes. I think it is a genuinely shared experience. It's an experience of grief, for many deep grief, but also mixed with an experience of immense thankfulness. Talking to people yesterday in the queue and earlier in the week, listening to them, they said, I'd say, why have you come? I wanted to say thank you. And I found that deeply moving.
He was the longest serving Prince of Wales this country has ever seen. Is it too much, do you think, to expect somebody to take on this role in their later years? No.
In his case, no. It would be too much to expect most people to take on this role at any age, frankly. He is a man of very great intelligence, humility, thoughtfulness, commitment to service, who he hasn't just been sitting around twiddling his thumbs, waiting to take on the role. As we know, his service to the country and the Commonwealth and around the world has been huge in all kinds of really applied ways. And he's been thinking about this role for very, very many years indeed. A few days ago on Wednesday at the receiving at Westminster Hall, there was an almost tangible sense of the roles, the weight of the roles settling on him, and him rising to gather that and hold it as the Queen did.
Such extraordinary tributes about Her Majesty. Her thoughtfulness and her kindness have really stood out to the people I've spoken to, and you've had that experience yourself, haven't you, from her?
Yes, very much so. The thing that, there's been all kinds of things, but her capacity to put one at one's ease. I remember being at a meal she asks a bishop in January every year to go each Sunday to Sandringham. She used to do this and preach. Saturday evening, quite often, they go for a barbecue in January in North Norfolk in the woods, in a cabin in the woods. And she has loads of house guests. And one of them, it's very relaxed. And there's no electricity, and you all lay the table, she lays the table, everyone lays the table. And I was there feeling, I'm going to wake up in a minute, this can't be real. And one of the house guests said to me, Archbishop, could you just put the candlesticks on the table and light the candles? And just something from my school days, when you're new at a school and people try and trick you? Something from my school days just rang a bell. And I went over to her and said, "Ma'am, would it be helpful if I put the candlesticks on the table and lit the candles?" And there was a little twinkle in her eye because she knew what was going on. And she said, "No, I don't think Prince Philip would like that at all." And they were just trying to get me into trouble. But it was so funny. And I've laughed about that ever since. And there was no malice going on. It was just playing around. But she was so relaxed and fun and, just a very, very lovely human being.
Many people did say that her "we'll meet again" message during COVID got them through the pandemic. Do you get the sense at all that she's just leaving us at just the wrong moment as we head into this difficult winter, which many people are frightened about?
I think people are very frightened about the future. And for many, we mustn't forget, we've had 10 days of mourning, but we got the funeral tomorrow. Official national mourning ends, I think, day after tomorrow. But that hasn't brought more money into people's pockets. People are still going to food banks during this time, struggling to work out how to make the budget last, make the pay last as long as the month, or the benefit last as long as the month. And people are frightened. But I am absolutely, the extraordinary thing about the royal family is that they know that, and they are deeply aware of it. And yes, there's going to be changes, and the next few months may be very difficult. Many people will be. But from the point of view of the head of state, there's been a seamless transition, not to someone who's self-centered or anything like that, but to someone whose sense of service and duty is the equal of Her late Majesty's, and with the immediate family around. And so there's not going to be a gap there. There will be the hardship, but there's not going to be the gap.
When was the last time you saw her?
It was end of June, early July. I can't quite remember the exact date, and I went along with something to give her, actually, a cross of nails like this. These nails are a symbol of the cathedral. They fell from the roof of the medieval cathedral as it burned in the Great Blitz. It's been used as a symbol of reconciliation and peace building around the world. And she's had such an influence on peacemaking and peace building and drawing people together that we gave her that gift, and I was privileged to give it to her. I came back and I said to my wife, "Oh, we needn't worry. I'm not going to have to do a coronation. It'll be my successor who does that. She's so fit." And her memory was so acute, her observation so perceptive. You got the benefit of 70 years of accumulated wisdom in government and in leadership. And, not only her family, but I think every senior politician, every archbishop will miss her.
You sound like you will, I have to say.
Hugely.
You talked about the work the Queen did in peace and conciliation, quite frankly, and we will watch all these people arriving from around the world on Monday. And there is a sense, even now, that she's unifying the globe in this, don't you think?
Yes. Her conciliation and peace building was not the sort of hands-on way of doing it. It was inspirational and symbolic that made people look at things a bit differently, especially within the Commonwealth, and work behind the scenes, as we know now from the time of the apartheid regime in South Africa, and being very conscious of the symbolic importance of what the British government did at that time, for example. But she's going to unite more global leaders, possibly than at any point in human history. And that is perhaps a moment, I hope and pray, that where they will reflect on their own leadership, whatever their faith, and they'll be from all faiths and none. I hope and pray that they will reflect on their own leadership and think, do I want my legacy to be in the bank balance of earth, or in the words of Jesus, who she followed so faithfully, do I want to store up treasure in heaven? And which she has done in her way of service.
Are you saying that they could learn from her?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there are extraordinary, wonderful leaders coming. But I hope they find what they hear and see and think about, a moment where they say to themselves, I would really like people to look on me in the way that they look on her.
We know that she'll be buried alongside her late husband. She'll be reunited with her family, her father, her mother, her sister. They were a tight-knit family. Did she really believe that she would see them again?
Yes.
How did she express that to you?
Not only to me, but in that great COVID broadcast, but in her Christmas broadcasts as well. She was a deeply faithful and faith-filled, undemonstrative, quiet Christian who trusted in the faithfulness of God, in the words we often use, that she would and her family rest in peace and rise in glory. It's at the heart of Christian faith.
Is she at peace now?
Yes.
And should the nation take comfort from that?
I think the nation should take hope from that. Not just comfort, but hope for themselves. It's a gift that she knew that came from God, in whom she believed and trusted, and whom she served, and who gave her the strength to be what she was.